today. Let's go to the first topic of discussion, where October 20, 2021, that's a few days ago, and exactly 1 year since the Nigerian youth took to the street to protest police brutality with the hashtag EndSars. Things seem not to have changed, with police again manhandling and harassing protesters and journalists. Nigerian celebrities, including Fowls and thousands of other Nigerian youths, defied heavy presence of security officers to hold a car procession and at the Lekki toll gate, where the unfaithful night happened in Lagos to mark 1 year anniversary of the EndSars protest. Now, I'm sure you were glued to your TV and of course internet, and you saw a lot that have happened. I'm sure you too have been heavily involved in defending some of these persons that were arrested by the police exactly a year ago. So let's have your say on it generally, because it seems our leaders and the police have not learned from what happened last year.
Yes, thank you so much, Solomon. Yes, I agree with you that after 1 year, Nigerian youth came out in unison to condemn what they feel is an abnormality on the part of some organs of the Nigerian police force, known as SARS, which unfortunately has been disbanded in the wake of the protests a year ago. It is incredible to note that after almost 1 year, Nigerians took to the streets to protest and to drive home some of the societal ills that have bedeviled Nigeria, particularly with respect to extrajudicial killings perpetrated by the then disbanded members of the SARS. A year after, Nigerian youth has thought it wise, in their wisdom, to continue to demonstrate and to ensure that the dream of that demonstration is not lost. And if you look critically what has happened for the past 1 year, you would begin to think whether indeed there has been any change from what we used to have. And I think it is more or less to keep in mind the need for Nigerian police to continue to abide by the tenet of democracy and the rule of law, and to ensure that citizens are not arbitrarily arrested, detained, and dehumanized. And more particularly is to draw home the need for Nigerian leaders to begin to see the need to adhere and listen to Nigerians when the need arises. So by and large, I think after 1 year, nothing seems to have happened. Police has continued in their usual manner to detain arbitrarily, to engage in extrajudicial killings and all forms of inhuman and degrading treatment, despite the protests of Nigerians. And I believe that even Nigerian government appear not to have taken any hint from what transpired almost a year ago, because the idea was to drive home some of these challenges in Nigeria. But after 1 year, I realized that at the time of the protest a year ago, there were about almost 27 or 28 states in Nigeria empaneled a body of inquiries, in order to compensate and deal with the root and remote causes of this agitation. But apart from Lagos, I am not aware of any other states within those 27 states that have submitted either their report or begin to compensate victims.
There've actually been compensations from some other states too.
Apart from Lagos?
Yes, apart from Lagos, there've been compensation. But but the problem now, as you mentioned, is the root cause. Because it's not just about compensating these people, it's about dealing with those root cause and make sure those things do not happen again.
Exactly. Just a moment. I think I recall just last week, one senior police officer called me. I think he's a deputy commissioner of police from one of the states in Nigeria. over my contribution on the public platform with respect to the activities of the police and my own perception. You know, he has tried to tell me, which quite frankly in his wisdom, that the problem of police is beyond the police as an institution, because across the society as large. And much as I agree with him to some extent, I believe that police still have a whole lot to do in ensuring that this act of prejudicial activities are stayed permanently. Yes.
Okay, let's have your say, sir.
Well, the issue of EndSars is is a signal to the government that number one, the government has failed its citizens woefully on security, on respect for human rights, on agenda for youths, on having a structure that is workable. Now the protest is against the police anti-robbery squad, which has been in existence since 1992. But instead of the positive outcome in the fight against this tax that they were commissioned to do, it was rather used, the power was arbitrarily used to dehumanize the youths, the women, the children, you know, extortion, you know, all sort of inhuman treatment. And you see, that is why over the years we have been calling for reformation of the police. Most of the police officers currently operating in Nigeria, they are not well trained. You see, I was at Alagbon some times ago, and the commissioner of police there, he openly confessed to me that it was when he went for training on the administration of justice system in Nigeria that he learned so many things about law enforcement that he never knew that the administration of criminal justice system could be so detailed. In fact, he never knew much about it until he went for this training and came back. And believe me, God, if you take your matter before this man, he treats it in a civil way. So I believe that most policemen are supposed to be taken for this training. Most of them are under drugs. In Panti, last 2 months, a police officer suddenly shoots on the air, boo, 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 and everybody ran away. When he was asked by his boss, what happened? He said, Oga, you don't tell where we shoot now. The thing they hungry me.
Wow.
And they asked him to go inside. Are these people fit and proper?
There was no discipline.
No discipline.
Wow.
In my presence again, when I had a matter before the station officer, another policeman was threatening a lawyer that if he moves outside, he's going to shoot him. And the lawyer ran back to the station officer to report that, Oga, my life is not safe. This man is threatening to kill me if I move out of these premises. Even when the police officer was called by the superior to order, he was still showing disrespect to his superior. So I think the problem is the failure of institutions. If these institutions are well groomed, the lives, the properties of Nigerians will be secured. So the government needs to reform the police. They need to wake up and do something. The Nigerian police, when you go outside the country and you see other policemen outside, they are quite different. The difference is too clear, it's too enormous. So we need a whole lot of reforms in the Nigerian police.
Now, but the big problem here is we've been in democracy for a very long time. We know the long stay of the military actually has changed a lot. You know, it has distorted our psyche, especially our law enforcement agencies. But we've been in the democratic rule now for how many years? Since
1999.
Since 1999. That is quite a long time. Isn't that a long time for some of these rule of law and all that to be inculcated into their learning curriculum, into these police colleges?
Well, thank you so much. Let me say this. I think part of the problem of society, of the police, is the general problem of the society. Just like the Deputy Commissioner of Police did inform me. He began with an analogy that if you look at the recruitment process of the police, you would see that most often than not, it is more purely those who have little or no education that eventually get enrolled from the rank and files. And then, that some of them are even criminals and armed robbers. He did admit that to me. So police is also dealing with internal problems and then the societal problem at large. So when you look at the recruitment process of the police, you begin to see that the caliber of persons are being recruited in that agency are below the permissible level of persons that should be policing Nigeria. So it goes down to show the mental capacity of these people to begin to do their jobs. I was telling him that the Nigeria of today, and indeed the world, has moved on from AK-47 kind of policing to intelligence gathering policing. I'm not a policeman, but I understand that because of the technology advancement and the changes all over the world, Nigerian police must be in tune with the current reality.
No, does that matter though? Because I'm talking about educational level, because I grew up in the barracks, where the educational system before now was so good that even after primary school you can get a very good job.
Sure.
After primary school, my father was one of those that got into the police from his first school living certificate. He never saw the forward of a secondary school. So I'm just using him now as a point of contact to so many other police people that I've seen, and they were doing well. So is it about educational background now?
It is about...
Well, let me come in here. You see, we are being colonized by the British. And if you trace our history far to the colonial era, they used police to brutalize us. The police are trained as instrument of brutality. They are not trained to be our friends. They are not trained to be involved in intelligence gathering and criminal investigation.
But that is also the story of so many countries with a colonial mentality.
That is the origin of what we are facing today. That is the orientation that has been given to them.
But why is ours different? I mean, the same British colonized South Africa. I mean, before the Portuguese came, the same British people colonized the US and so many other countries.
Can you just a moment? Solomon, there's no point to raising this issue. Almost everybody knows the problem of Nigerian police, and it was part of the agitation of the EndSars, which of course later was extended to other maladministration of the country. We have to understand that the kind of policing we have in Nigeria is a reflection of the kind of citizens or people we have also. You cannot have an excellent police force in a society that's devoid of excellence. Beyond the issue of education, we are grappling with corruption. corruption has to go deeply, even into the recruitment process. How are these people recruited? You know, what are the basic qualifications? Do they have basic training? You know, and then what about their welfare? Because this is very, very germane. Even if you have professors in the Nigerian police force, but they are not well taken care of, we will continue to see this kind of thing. I was happy to hear just recently that one of the members of the Nigerian police officers force was made the senior advocate of Nigeria. So it's a good thing. You know, it begins to encourage those who are into the system that, you know, excellence pays. You know, you have to do what you need to do, you know, within the ambit of the law. So it is actually holistic. The problem of the police, and I believe, I have to make this clear, that the EndSars protest does not start and end with police brutality.
We know that.
Transcended to other facets of the issues of the society. So, but with regard to policing in Nigeria, we have to take cognizance of the recruitment process, the welfare of the policing, and continuous education. You have to educate. Most of them don't understand this, because I've been privileged to, you know, attend police stations, you know, for 1 or 2 clients, and you see the mindset of these people. Most often than not, they will engage in civil disputation. They will tell you they have the power to do that.
So I get what you mean, but how do you explain, like, what happened, you know, this week, where the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Commissioner of Police, with his education and his experience, still comes out to say some of the things he said? Because now, if we're bringing it down to education, the senior police officers are educated. Some of them have gone for trainings outside the country, and some of them are conversant with the social media, so they know what policing, you know, it's all about outside of this country. So
yes, I understand the presence of the Commissioner of Police on Tuesday during the Memorial EndSars protest. We have to keep in mind the security situation in the country and the need to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order. The point is not in the presence of the policemen and women, it is in the activities. Of course, citizens have right to protest within the ambit of the law. There are exceptions to that right, which can be curtailed within the ambit or the exception provided under the law. So, you know, prior to on Tuesday, Commissioner of Police in Lagos State had issued out some statements, you know, asking people not to participate in any Memorial EndSars protest. That is purely unconstitutional.
Why?
Okay, their constitutional rights. I disagree.
You know. So
I disagree. They have the constitutional right to protest.
Yeah, which is what he is saying.
They have that right. He cannot say nobody should participate. It is a legitimate cause. It is a legitimate cause.
Okay, we'll come back to you. We seem to be leaving someone out. Let's go over to Calabar, where we have our virtual guest, Inyobong Udo. Good to see you, Barrister Udo. So just give us your perspective on this, the police reform. You know, we've been talking here in the studio, and we've tried to analyze why these policemen in general act the way they do. So let's hear your view on that.
It's a reflection of the entire society. What is happening with the police is what is happening in the country itself. I don't know if you can hear me, sir. Okay,
yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, yes. The police is a reflection of the society. What is happening in the society, the reflection of what is happening in the society. If the society is better, if Nigeria is better, we'll have a better police. You know, the people who are policemen are Nigerians. They are recruited from Nigeria. They don't recruit them from Cameroon or from Chad or from any other country. They are recruited from Nigeria. So they take the ordinary Nigerian culture into the police situation. What happened recently, like when we had the Commissioner of Police Lagos State going out to even arrest protesters. Well, I would say it's an issue also of the command structure, which is against the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. I'm sure he has received an order, he has received a command, arrest them, and he has to arrest them, because that is the mentality of the average police. However, the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act are stated that if you receive an illegal order, it has to be in writing, and you can disobey that kind of illegal order because Nigerians have a right to protest. So it will take a lot of reorientation for us to actually move away from the current level of police brutality, current level of where we're experiencing police carrying out illegal activities and illegal orders, where police is now interested in settling rent matters, debt collection, and all of that, to the point where police will have to focus on their statutory functions of law enforcement, of criminal investigation, of intelligence gathering, and of prosecution of criminals. So it will take continuous reorientation for us to have that done. But so far, so good. We should also admit the fact that there has been improvement. What happened this year, EndSars protest, cannot be compared with what we had last year. Last year was totally brutal. This year, there has been an improvement. But then we also need to understand that the rights of anyone who has been breached can actually challenge those rights in the court of law. And so I'm told that the Uber driver who was harassed and assaulted, was also has met a lawyer, and his rights will be enforced. And then we should also notice that when the Uber driver was assaulted, there was this Lagos State Task Force officers who also assaulted him. So it's not just about the police; it's also about the average Nigerian culture. We saw members of Lagos State Task Force assault an Uber driver. So I think you can actually go to court to enforce your right. And then when you keep slamming damages against these officers, we keep slamming damages against the government of Nigeria, I think we'll continue to learn. So I think things are improving, but I think we definitely need to do better. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about this order, because we know how the police operates, just like most security agencies, where we know that there's been this call for state police, but for now we don't have state police. So they're controlled by the federal. And of course, the police structure, just like, as I said, other security agencies, they have a command structure. These police commissioners, whatever they do and whatever orders they give their junior officers are orders that have been taken from their assistants, their AIGs and the DIGs, and of course the box stop at the Inspector General of Police, who in turn gets his order from the president. So, and we talk about education. These people are educated people. They've had trainings outside of the country, and I'm still trying to organize. I'm still trying to, to organize as well the rationale, behind all these. They know the rule of law, because I'm sure they've had some of this training since maybe not deeply, since the military was, done away with and democracy was, ushered into this country. So how can these be made right? Because I know there are some bad eggs in the junior police officers, but ultimately, if they don't get the support of the senior officers, they wouldn't do some of these things.
Well, Mr. Solomon, I think police is an institution created under the relevant laws of Nigeria.
Definitely.
They operate under the law. They cannot go outside their powers.
Definitely.
As enshrined in the law. I think it is not really about the orders from above, or whoever is making the order for the junior officers to comply with. Even under the Armed Forces Act, you cannot obey an unlawful order. So that order must be embedded within the established democratic ethos. So the problem we have in Nigeria is that we have powerful individuals that are more powerful than institutions. So it is no longer about what the powers of the police are. It's about what
these individuals want.
Those individuals that had the police establishment. So that is why during the EndSars and in fact during the memorial, Nigeria is trying to reinvigorate the need for Nigerian police to be reformed. So we need reformation in the police force. I was talking to someone that police is really not a member of the armed forces, but we have other armed forces, the three other main armed forces. They have not been in the mainstream discussion because they have not really been into the extrajudicial activities just like police. So the problem, like I said at the outset, should be holistic. It is not really about dealing with, okay, what are the agitations of these EndSars protests? What triggered the protest was police brutality and the EndSars. Has SARS really been ended? That is the question we must ask. It was just recently, I think, a day of prior to the memorial protest, the government decided to dish out certain mechanism to give the
but even then, if rumors are anything to go by, they just pick one scapegoat and the rest of them were kind of thrown into some other
if you watch
sections of the police force.
Witness, my office coincidentally is around this area, so I passed that route I think like 30 minutes after the EndSars stop. So I could see some vehicles that are parked and abandoned from those protesters. For crying out loud, protest is a constitutional right of citizens. You could see the young man being brutalized by the police, and all of it. It doesn't give a good impression of Nigeria as a society and police as an institution of government. We must be proactive. Nigerian government seems to be reactionary in treating these agitations of the EndSars protest. That is where the problem is. There were issues lumped up as EndSars protests. How many of those issues have been implemented or have been seen to have been implemented by government? You said some states have started compensating victims. I'm not aware of that, except Lagos State. What about the recommendations in those panels? They are not public. Even in Lagos, we have not seen the stuff. And then you begin to see police acting in the same manner Nigerian youth have condemned that bettered the EndSars protest. What that means is that we're not ready, it appears we're not ready to practice democracy in Nigeria. And we must actually define what we want. We must have a policing that must play by the rules. And what is the rules? Their rights or their powers under the Police Act and the Constitution of Nigeria. Anything outside of that is going to put Nigeria in a very, very unfortunate light.
So now, one thing that have been established here is the fact that, of course, the issues with the police stems from the society, the kind of persons that are recruited and all that. But is there a disconnect between this generation of Nigerians, or the youth, and the past, or the older generations of Nigeria? Is there a disconnect? Because incidentally, majority of the older generations of Nigerians are the ones having a say as far as this country is concerned. Majority of them are the ones controlling these security agencies, using the police now as a point of contact, the point of reference rather. Is there a disconnect between this present generation of youths in Nigeria and the older generation? Because they don't seem to understand each other. A lot of things seem to have changed. The way they dress have changed. The way they see life has changed. The way they reason has changed. Some of the things that the older generations have to do and call it profession, and they have to make money, is different from a lot of things that these generations have. Because now whenever a policeman see a young man with laptop, The general perspective is that he's engaged in internet fraud, and he's a Yahoo. They see a young man with a dreadlock. That perception is irresponsible, and it's a reason to arrest. So, how can we work on these generational differences and way of thinking?
First of all, I would like us to have a separation between policing and politics. Now,
are there separations though?
I said I would like us to have a separation, because currently policing and politics are interwoven. Now, when you talk of politics, the people that are in politics are old generation politicians, and they are the ones controlling the current police system.
The country at large.
That is where the problem is. So until you're able to separate policing from politics, until the police can have the mind to arrest a politician who has broken traffic laws and prosecute him before the court of law, then we can now be comfortable that yes, we have a modern policing. Now, what is happening is policing of godfatherism. Every policeman you meet in the station has a link to godfatherism. Tell him, what you are doing, I will report you, I will petition you, and your uniform will be removed. The next thing, he will pick his phone call and call his godfather. Hey, there's a problem. And the next thing is the DPO will receive a call. Don't touch my boy. So until this system is totally cleansed, there is no hope for the future.
So you were writing something, but I will get back to you. Just keep your thought. Let's go back to Calabar. Let's listen to Barrister Udo on this. The disconnect between this generation of youths and the older generation, who incidentally are the ones organizing the affairs of this country right now.
Thank you so much, my brother. I think one of the problems we would rather see is that there is I think it has to come from the welfare of the police officers. The problem is a policeman who is earning 25,000 naira a month will see a young boy driving in a Lexus Jeep or in a Mercedes-Benz car, and then holding an iPhone 13 and all of that, and I mean, so I think what we have is rather the reverse. The police are actually part of society. They feel that they are earning 25,000, and these young people, I mean, are driving big cars, holding big phones, having deadlocks, and all of that. So they're actually taking laws into their hands. I'm told that now the police now stay at university junctions, stop cars of students and then arrest them and get monies from them. It's a very big societal problem. I think it goes beyond just the fact that there is a generational gap. I think it's also first, we need to tackle the welfare of the policeman. The average policeman should be it should be well fed, it should be well paid, it should be well taken care of. And so that if he sees someone who he reasonably suspects to have committed internet fraud or online fraud, he can reasonably arrest him without need to. Where do most of these cases end? You just stay somewhere and then transfer 250,000, transfer 500, transfer 2 million, and then you are left off the hook. But when the police are well taken care of, when they are well paid, they can arrest those they feel are committing internet fraud. They can investigate them properly, and they can charge them to court. So I think that will help. That will help. Yes, of course, we also have issues of the seemingly generational gap between the older generation of Nigerians and the younger generation of Nigerians. Nigerians have been shouting, let there be reformation. But the older generation seems to say, oh, it's succession, it's revolution. They want to take over power. It's about North and South divide. So there is a communication problem between the younger generation and the older generation. The older generation don't seem to understand the yearnings of the average Nigerian youth, that they want things to be done properly. There is that communication issue, there's that communication gap. And because of that is when we now see the differential in the torture, the differential in the brutality that the police give. So I think our older generation need to also listen to the yearnings of the Nigerian youth, or the yearnings of the modern day Nigerians. We need to pay attention to what they are saying, and we need to find ways to Nigeria. Thank you.
Let's have your thoughts what you were writing.
Yeah, just like the virtual guest Mr. Ondo rightly pointed out, it is not really about the generational gap or the age gap between the old and the younger generation. It speaks more about the disenchantment, the disillusionment, and the disconnect between the youth or the Nigerians as a whole and the government. You know, the government appears not to have a listening ear or to get itself acquainted with the current realities of today. So it really has nothing to do with the age gap or the generational gap. It's about sense of hope and sense of belonging. So majorly Nigerian youth feels that the action of the police and indeed the elites, the political leaders, does not seem to reflect the saying that youth are the leaders of tomorrow. We've been hearing that over and over and over again, but nothing seems to have changed. So we must have an inclusive government. We must have a policy that will also include the youth that constitutes majority of the population of this country. So it is really not about how the generation. It is about what is practicable, what is obtainable, you know, given the advancement in the society. So the issue of police and what led to the protest is beyond age gap. It can happen to anybody. Police have been involved in extrajudicial activities, whether you are young or you are old. So, but we must play according to the rules. So Nigerians are saying, in essence, and that was the essence of the memorial protest, you know, to raise that awareness and to awaken the need for Nigerian leaders to begin to listen to their citizens, for citizens to be able to key into the policies of government. Once citizens feel a certain kind of way that they do not belong or their issues are not being well addressed, you are bound to see this kind of arrest. So Nigerian government must be proactive and not reactionary like they have always been. After 1 year, I could tell you as a fact that nothing really has changed with the policing in Nigeria and with the leadership of